The whole freaking world is watching Canada implode, politically speaking. It has been a rough, I don't even want to say past couple of days or week or month. It's just been a rough political season ever since they came back from summer break in September. At the end of September, this past 2.5 months or however long it's been has been an absolute nightmare. Every single thing, every single word, every action, every freaking day, there's a new scandal, there's a new breaking news, there's a breaking news on top of the breaking news, and then there's more breaking news. And so here we are, done with the political season, well, at least the parliamentary political season of 2024, and we're left in pieces. And so what are we left in pieces with? Well, Justin Trudeau has shattered Parliament. He shattered our political system, so much so that people around the world are laughing and ridiculing Canada, especially President-elect Donald Trump. He's happy that Chrystia Freeland imploded Justin Trudeau's government the way that she did. In fact, he actually doesn't even like Freeland, calls her toxic, says Trudeau's an idiot, calls Freeland toxic, and then proceeds to make fun of everybody and everything in Canada, other than the Canadian people, of course. And then he's stuck there licking his lips, waiting to annex Canada as the 51st state. Oh my goodness. And our dollar keeps getting worse and worse by the day. What the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? Oh my God, this isn't a Merry Christmas. This is a SOS. Please come and save us. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage you all to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already. It does really help grow the channel. We're going to be taking a look at a couple different things. We have a not so familiar face anymore. Peter McKay sits down on CTV and talks about the fact that it's probably for the best for Justin Trudeau to step aside. Like, nobody seems to think that Trudeau is going to go the distance to the next election in October of 2025. So we're going to start off with that, and then we're going to take a look at a couple different pieces that are focusing on Trump and what he has to say about Canada, specifically about Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau. Without further ado, let's get right into it.
What is next for Justin Trudeau? Peter McKay is standing by. He is a former Justice, Foreign Affairs, National Defense Minister, serving in many portfolios in the Conservative government of Stephen Harper. Peter, always good to have you part of our coverage here today. I mean,
haven't seen him in a while.
Here, your thoughts on what's going through Justin Trudeau's mind on this Tuesday?
Well, all of the commentary denotes this feeling of uncertainty and certainly unpredictability coming from the United States of America. I mean, the pressure has to be just, crushing for Mr. Trudeau to lose his finance minister, to have his own party really in disarray. The opposition party are doing what opposition parties should do, and that's calling the government out and calling for accountability. The problem, of course, is this really couldn't come at a worse time. We have a lot of really difficult financial headwinds in the country. We know that the possibility of tariffs looms large after the inauguration. And so all of these calls for Mr. Trudeau to step aside, many will be watching the weather to see if there's any snow in the forecast for him to walk in.
I'm also curious, and I appreciate the reference, of course, to his father and what happened back in 1984 with Pierre Trudeau. Your thoughts on what we're hearing from the Conservative leader about the government being weak, Trudeau being pathetic, Canada being a laughingstock, Trump looking at all of this with glee. Do you agree with some of that language?
Well, it is very strong language. There's no question. And certainly the difficulty for our country reputationally, and at a time when the incoming administration in the United States has already indicated quite clearly they expect more from Canada. Well, to get more, you need to be able to perform and to pass legislation and to be able to make big decisions around our border, our security, the Arctic, trying to right the ship financially, which is presumably what the fall economic statement, now kind of bleeding into a winter economic statement, was supposed to do. We blew through the guardrails of deficit spending.
All
billion. Of this looks really does look chaotic and to some degree weak for a country that, is a G7 country, is a NATO member country, is a country that many used to aspire to be like, nobody is going to want to emulate Canada in its current state.
I'm curious as well if you can give us any kind of insights as to, the sort of advice that Trudeau may or may not be getting. We would imagine he's got top advisors who are perhaps saying, look, this is all going to blow over. Let's not get caught in the reeds. Let's focus on, trying to get through this. Today's the last day of the House of Commons. Then the House rises until, later on in January.
27th.
Whether they are kind of living in a delusional bubble, they're telling him what he might want to hear. Is he not able to kind of read what's going on, read the room, so to speak? Like, how do you think that's actually playing out behind closed doors?
Well, Todd, the way you've described it is quite apt. I think he is relying on people who have lived for far too long inside the Beltway in Ottawa and are not getting the temperature, so to speak, of what average Canadians think and feel about the Prime Minister. And he is very determined. He has sort of weathered lots of weather references here, but he has come through these sort of challenges recently. The loss of Chrystia Freeland, though, is of a different sort. I'm going to make another historic reference here. When John Turner left as finance minister in his father's government almost 50 years ago, that had a similar ripple effect across the country and sort of brought about that same sense of uncertainty for the government of the day. We in Canada right now need a government. We need somebody who is, strong at the wheel, has their eye on the future, not their own political future, but that of our country. That doesn't appear to be what we are seeing coming from Justin Trudeau. And he may simply succumb to this over the holiday period. Upon reflection, he may realize that the longer he stays, the worse it is, not only for his party, but for the country as well.
Yeah, maybe this is a headache. I don't need this. I'm out. I've had, 9.5 years.
The problem is, though, that Justin Trudeau genuinely thinks that what he is doing is good. It's beneficial. He actually thinks that he's the guy to steer the ship, to steer Canada into a prosperous state. Like, that's how delusional he is. And he's getting rich doing it. He's getting rich. I don't know how. I don't know who would give him $2 for an investment and say, you know what, you're the guy I want handling my money. He's a walking ticking bomb. It doesn't make any sense. Trudeau's a horrible person to invest in. So I don't know how he keeps getting a bunch of money from these Laurentian elites or whatever the hell they're called in Ottawa. He's losing across the board, and there's no way he's going to get reelected.
I'm also trying to get a sense whether they actually think they can win the next election. And I don't just mean given all the drama that's playing out in the last 24 to 48 hours. I'm talking about, poll after poll, Peter, for going back almost 2 years now, showing them so far behind the Conservatives, in the sense that they're, trying different maneuvers and tactics, maybe, switching out certain ministers, trying to refresh, rebrand, GST tax holiday, whatever it may be. Is that going to make really any difference at the end of the day?
I think, Todd, the brand damage, if I can put it that way, is so deep that even bringing in a new leader, Mark Carney being the obvious one that's been talked about, I don't know that it would make a difference at this point. The incumbency tends to work against governments after 2, let alone 3 terms. And, the economic woes that people are feeling, this affordability crisis is real, it's deep. These political gimmicks, as Chrystia Freeland referred to them, they're not going to have the desired effect. There's just no other way to put it. And so I don't think a fresh paint of coat or a fresh coat of paint or a new leader is really going to bring about a change in public opinion. The polls seem to have, they may go up marginally, but they are set. Even the by-election loss in BC is another indication. So the days are numbered, I think, for Mr. Trudeau and his time as Prime Minister.
Yeah, the Conservatives winning that by-election in Cloverdale, Langley City in Metro Vancouver.
Huge.
Another question. This is now turning into something of a parlor game. You were in Ottawa for many years. You know how this plays out. Everybody's saying, does he stay? Does he go? Does he leave? Does he hang tight? What's your read based on what you've observed? I don't know how well you know him personally, but just, what you've observed in his time as, Liberal leader and then Prime Minister, given his pedigree as the son of a Prime Minister. Do you think he stays or do you think he goes?
Well, that's a tough call. It is the big question. I do know him a little. His office was down the hall from me when he first arrived. I think he's a stubborn man. I think that the more people push him to go, the more he sees this as being not the right time for him personally. And again, I don't want to make this personal because he has endured, as many politicians have, the trials and tribulations of office, the slings and arrows that come your way. We saw another minister, Sean Fraser, step aside recently and gave very heartfelt reasons, wanting to spend time with his family. For Mr. Trudeau, though, this is almost a sense that he had of destiny. I don't know that he wants to leave in such an inglorious way. I don't know that he wants to be seen to be, proverbially pushed out the door or dragged kicking and screaming, however you want to describe it. And so that stubbornness, I think, is what stands in the way from him making that clear break and deciding to leave on his own terms. If he wants to go down in an election, in some fashion, he may see that as the last chance, the last vestige of his leadership. But either way, I think the outcome is inevitable. The latest that he will be prime minister is October of 2025, but I suspect strongly it may happen much sooner.
Peter McKay joining us from Nova Scotia, former leader himself of the Progressive Conservative Party of Canada. He served as Foreign Affairs, National Defence, Justice Ministers in the governments of Stephen Harper as well. Peter, always great to see you. Thanks for your insights today. We'll talk again.
I think everybody wants that satisfaction of seeing Justin Trudeau get absolutely pummeled in an election, like a landslide victory. I personally want that as well, just as much as the next person. But we also want him to resign yesterday. That couldn't come soon enough. And so we're stuck in this dilemma, this limbo, but things are going to play out how they're going to play out. And all we can do is just watch, wait, and be very patient and vigilant and ready for when the election comes, because I think it's going to catch us by surprise when it actually does happen. I don't think anybody expects the election to go the full distance to October of 2025. But again, that's my own personal opinion, the opinion of a lot of people on social media, and then also the opinion of a lot of these analysts. But I'd love to know your guys' opinion right now down in the comments. When do you think the next election will take place? Let me know your guys' thoughts down below about what you think about what Peter McKay just said. Next up, we're going to take a look now at what the heck is going on with President-elect Trump and Canadian affairs and how everything is crumbling. Let's take a look at that now. We're going to take a look at this. Trump calls Freeland toxic and says she will not be missed. Oh, Trump.
Well, we knew it was a matter of time before the Trudeau government...
Lovely. Never a dull moment for Canadians and Americans, or for Americans to comment on Canadians. With breakfast television that says, again, Donald Trump reacts to Freeland resigning from cabinet. I mean, this isn't good. Canada has become a laughingstock. At least Trudeau and Freeland have.
9:30 Eastern here on BT. Welcome back. A government at a crossroads is coming to grips with the sudden resignation of Chrystia Freeland just hours before she was supposed to deliver a key fiscal update in the House of Commons. Let's bring back our Parliament Hill reporter Glenn McGregor, joining us live now at this most consequential Canadian political moment. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning, Gary.
So it was kind of a blast from Chrystia Freeland's past yesterday because Donald Trump not passing up the opportunity to kind of mock her resignation.
Yeah, lots of reaction yesterday to this stunning day in Canadian politics. But Donald Trump has entered the chat, as the kids say, with a late night post on Truth Social. That's his social media site that he runs, basically blasting Chrystia Freeland. I'm going to read you the tweet here. It says, "The great state of Canada is stunned as the finance minister resigns or was fired from her position by Governor Justin Trudeau. Her behavior was totally toxic and not at all conducive to making deals which are good for the very unhappy citizens of Canada. She will not be missed, ! So this is a reference to the role that Chrystia Freeland played during Donald Trump's first term in the White House, in which she was kind of the lead on negotiating over trade deals, the U.S. decision to put duties on Canadian-made steel and aluminum, and then ultimately the renegotiation of the NAFTA deal, which Trump insisted on, that later produced the U.S. MCA, or CUSMA, if you prefer that acronym. But that was, she was quite obviously conducive to getting deals done because she got it done there. There was a lot of speculation that when Trudeau spoke to Freeland on Friday, that the position that he was going to ask her to take on, after removing her as finance minister, he wanted her to take on the role of kind of a go-between to the U.S., a sort of a minister without a department. She would have not limited number of resources, but her role would be to be an interface.
But he's a good feminist, right?
Incoming administration. Obviously, that was not a role she wanted to take on. So in terms of the other reaction, though, we're going to be watching really closely over the next day and days and weeks for reaction from Liberal MPs. Trudeau spoke to them last night at an emergency caucus meeting. Chrystia Freeland was in the room, apparently got several standing ovations from other Liberal MPs. Trudeau apparently told the MPs that he needed some time to think, that he'd received the message. So does that mean he's going to go off over the Christmas holidays and think about his future and decide whether or not he's going to run again? Although all signs seem to be that he is still absolutely committed to running again, even though you have this increasing pressure on him from within his own party to step down. Karen.
Well, one of the most interesting lines, I think, in her letter was the part where she said that she intends to run again and stay on as an MP. Do you think she's leaving the door open here for perhaps her own future leadership bid?
Yeah, certainly Chrystia Freeland has been mentioned in the past as someone who could potentially be a candidate once Justin Trudeau leaves, a candidate for leadership of the Liberal Party. Despite that warm welcome she got from the caucus last night, I'm not sure how well regarded she is by her caucus colleagues. There was some tension between other MPs and Freeland over the 9 years that she was in the cabinet. But yes, it's interesting that she is staying on as the MP for Toronto, riding of University Rosedale, and intends to run again in the next election. So who knows what's going to happen then? That's a relatively safe seat in Toronto. Downtown Toronto has been historically pretty good for Liberal candidates, although it was a by-election loss in another safe Toronto seat in Parkdale Hyde Park. That really kind of kicked in this growing mutiny within the Liberal caucus. MPs were really concerned about that, especially MPs in the GTA, which is supposed to be the Liberal Party's stronghold, and it looks like it's collapsing because they lost that riding. And we'll see about University Rosedale when that comes around. But I think the interesting thing to watch over the next little while is how are other MPs reacting, and then look at towards into the new year when the House of Commons comes back at the end of January. What are the mechanisms that could force Trudeau out? Well, there's nothing really MPs can do to get him out as leader, but his government is very much at risk now. You had basically all the federal leaders yesterday criticizing Trudeau over this. Pierre Poilievre, of course, wants to have an election right now because his party is so high in the polls. Notably, he didn't really call on Trudeau to resign yesterday. He wants an election, and I think he wants to run against Justin Trudeau because he thinks Trudeau is so damaged. Jagmeet Singh also saying it's time for Trudeau to resign, but Singh not saying whether or not he wants an election. And of course, that's pivotal because Jagmeet Singh is the one person who, by leading his party to vote on non-confidence, could bring down this government. We still don't know if he wants to do that just yet.
I hate the fact that Jagmeet Singh is calling on Trudeau to resign, yet he's had multiple opportunities to call or vote in favor of non-confidence, and he's denied every single one of them. Over 3, in fact. He's an absolute disgrace, and he's holding 41+ million Canadians hostage to a government, to a prime minister that nobody wants and nobody has confidence in anymore. But hey, that's my opinion, folks. I would love to know yours. That, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to drop a like down below on the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps grow, and I'll be honest, that's all I really want for Christmas anyways. So 2 birds and 1 stone. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.